Hello, today I'm drawing something as part of an art challenge. The challenge is that I pick different colors for the character's makeup, and basically it's meant to help me work on certain color combinations in watercolor. So basically I had a list of colors and I used the cards to shuffle to pick which color I was gonna get. So right now I'm just drawing the face, pretty much. It's kind of in like a 3/4 profile. So basically I'm just freehanding the face. This one's not done using a reference, so it's just very stylized. I've been having fun with watercolor. I've been working with it for like, I don't know, a year or so now. Thanks to Inktober, funnily enough. I think it was Inktober of 2024 that I started using ink with a brush instead of using ballpoint pens. Yeah, so basically I'm just starting with the lightest color and I'm just gonna build the darker colors on top. Since like with watercolor, it's like you gradually build up the intensity. Okay, so the ear was probably like the one thing that was drawn from reference, only because I happened to look up and see my ear in the mirror. Okay, so now I'm just like painting hair. It's kind of obvious. This is the calm before the storm, before the challenge really gets started. Okay, so right out the gates, the color that was chosen for her lipstick was purple. Strong color choice right from the beginning. This drawing was very spontaneous. I had no idea how it was going to end up. The purpose of this was to try to get me back into making art again after the college semester ended. I was pretty burnt out, but I wanted to get back into the swing of things. And yeah, this definitely did the trick. Prior to this, to try to get me back into the art making flow, I made a mini version of a board game, Chutes and Ladders, and I also made a new sketchbook, which is what I'm painting in. You know those big art pads the professors have you use? Yeah, basically I took that home and I just folded the leftover paper into a book and, glued it together. As you can see, I'm putting black on her eyelid because her eyeshadow color was chosen as black. Well, yeah, one of the eyeshadow colors. More colors shall be coming. I'm using a tiny brush since it's such a small area between her eyelids. And the highlight color was chosen as blue, which I was a bit worried about. I went with it anyway, and we'll see how that plays out later. I think I used like 3 brushes to do this. So there's like a tiny pointed brush, the kind of rectangular medium brush, and the brush pen, like the, I don't know what it's called, the one with water inside of it. And the second eyeshadow color was burgundy. So you see me trying to add it in with the black. I think, yeah, I was going for like a smoky eye look and just blending it out. One thing I like about watercolors is how nicely colors tend to blend into each other. So now the next color is chosen. I was kind of glad that the lip liner color was chosen as purple as well, because there's a lot of colors already. Then we moved on to the eyeliner. I think the eyeliner style that got chosen was fox eyeliner. So it's kind of like with the inner corner and then like very upturned lash flick of the lash. Well, not the lash, but the liner. Her eye color was chosen as blue, so I picked a blue color that I thought would go nicely with the rest of the colors that are already here. Just making like a crescent moon shape, but thicker for the eye. Well, the pupil. And just blending more on the eyeshadow. Blending. Oh, and here's where I accidentally made a mistake. I got the black paint on her cheek. I was about to draw the eyelashes and whoops. Yeah, so we're gonna have to fix that later. And yeah, this is me doing eyelashes because her eyelash style got chosen as very big and bold, like long lashes. Yeah, so basically I'm just trying to get the lashes to match each other, which, is a challenge, getting both sides to match. Moving on to the next part. Here's me doing lower lashes, which I kind of regret because these got out of control very quickly. And I spent a lot of time trying to salvage them. It was definitely spontaneous because I typically do not draw the lower lash line in my usual art style, so I'm not sure why I did it this time. So here's how I decided to fix the little mark on the face. I just turned it into a butterfly real quick. And on to the next features. I'm just darkening up the lines of the nostrils and the lines of the nose to add some contrast. Then I'm just filling in her eyebrows with individual brush strokes for now. It's interesting to note the difference in mood when making an art piece, because for this one it was pretty chaotic because it was just very unexpected how things were going, and I was having to constantly pivot. I also had to stay calm and convince myself that I could fix it. Like, don't worry, you could fix this. Gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep. I laughed a lot while making this, partially out of nervousness but also out of fun, which I think is one of the more enjoyable aspects of art. I think there's a need to have both spontaneity and structure in the art process. There's a lot of art pieces where I did practice beforehand and I had a practice sketch, and I was much calmer making those because I had already practiced. So yes, there's definitely a difference between planning and not planning. And here I'm adding white watercolor paint to the eyes just to kind of fix some of the paint that got in the eye area. Sometimes I'm a little surprised by how opaque watercolor can get when you layer it on top of each other. Now we finally got to the part where we're filling in the skin color, just painting over everything, or the blank spaces. I'm just trying to make sure the paint goes on as smoothly as possible so that there's no streaks. Yeah, so the neck, the face, blending in that line, that kind of darker brown line that I put earlier. So still painting the skin. It's gonna take a little while since it's the biggest area to cover. One thing I'll say is that if you're in kind of the beginning of your art journey, or you're back to making art after a long time of not making art, I think it's important that you keep going even when you feel discouraged, because you don't know where you're going to end up at skill-wise. And when I started up again, in the 2020, 2021 range, I was just working with a big pen because I didn't really and I guess my color pencils kind of, but I didn't really know much about other art mediums yet. So build your confidence with the materials you have now. Then, funnily enough, you might end up branching out to other mediums simply just out of curiosity and wondering, with this medium, when I do this technique, it looks like this. What happens if I do it with something else? I'm just adding a few more details. I added some on the lips to give a little texture. And yeah, I'm basically working on the lower lash line and all the tiny areas to try to give it I don't know, to push the contrast a little bit more. And I'm glad that this came out because I don't know how I would have covered that up. Yeah, basically just darkening certain lines to show a difference so that it's not blending into each other. Sometimes I like to watch watercolor time lapses on YouTube because I'm impressed with what a lot of people can do with watercolor. I think that besides working in ink, that's one thing that helped me become more confident in working with watercolor. and I hope to continue improving my skills. Basically, I'm just cleaning up like the edges of her mouth with the skin color and just, adding some finishing touches, although there's gonna be like, some more that I'm gonna add later. So I'm just making sure to paint around the tight spots and back to the eyebrows, defining it again. I just wanted them to be a little darker, although I did accidentally put a little too much paint, so then I had to try to fix it really quickly. So I went back in with the skin color to clean the edges up, like underneath the eyes, well, the eyebrows.
I'm using the small brush to get into the small areas.
I'm just putting the finishing touches on this stage before I move on to the background and her shirt.
This feels like such a throwback to the makeup style from like 2016, 2017, 2018, where there was such a huge amount of tutorials on YouTube for all these colorful eyeshadow looks. Doing this almost felt like I was actually doing makeup on somebody. I actually think it would be fun to use some of my old makeup in my sketchbook as well. I've done it before in the past, and it has this like soft, powdery look. It almost looks like panned pastels. Once again, I'm working on the lashes and just trying to make them more defined. Now I'm adding an earring. Now I'm just painting her hair again. Just wanted it to be a little darker.
So this part is basically just readjusting the colors. Now I'm just adding a black line to her lash line. I just wanted the edge to look a little more crisp and give the eye more definition. Sometimes it's hard to know when to stop working on a piece because once you add something to one area, it feels like you have to balance it in another area. For example, because I lined her lash line, I felt like I needed to make her eye color more vibrant. Finally, moving on to the part where I paint the background, and I chose color pink. Yeah, so this is just me filling it in. I accidentally painted over her face a little bit, so I had to dab off the extra color with the paper towel. And basically, I'm gonna have to like fix it later by going over her skin color again. As I'm filling in the background, I'm being careful about which angle I'm holding the paintbrush in. Because this brush has a flat edge, it makes more sense to hold it horizontally when I'm like painting across like a straight area. But when I'm trying to get into the corners, it makes sense to hold the brush vertically so that the edge is pointing downwards. Basically, this is the kind of stuff you figure out just from like experimenting. I'm just layering the colors until it's as vibrant as I want it to be. Now we're painting the shirt. This time I just put some red polka dots because one of the colors that was chosen for her shirt was red, but the other color was black, and I figured that it would be better to put the red down first before the black because I didn't know how well the red was going to show up over the black paint. And basically, with the black paint, I'm just going to carve around these red dots to make a pattern for the shirt. I'm just laying the brush flat on the page to paint around the red dots. And yeah, just filling in the shirt piece by piece, getting paint when I need it, etc., etc. I'm trying to figure out if it's better for me to cut out some parts of the painting process or leave it in. Because some of it, like, it does seem a little tedious when I'm doing, like, the voiceover. Because part of it is, like, repetitive moments. Like, I'm just painting around each dot. And I'm just like, should I show each one that I'm painting? Or should I do jump cuts? I've already sped up the video clips themselves. But, yeah, I just have to think more about, like, viewer experience. Also, I want to be careful with like the language I'm using because I noticed that I'm saying I a lot, and I feel like I need to be using more like you language and like addressing others. But it's kind of hard when like I'm describing something that I did. So I'm also like thinking like how am I going to work around that?
I'm using the tiny brush to get into these tiny areas in between the hair strands. The content that I notice that gets like positive feedback and response from others is basically content that encourages people and basically motivates them. It's like, you can do this, you can do that, blah 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 blah. Because the world we're living in like is very like demoralizing, and sometimes there's a lot of messages that say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. So people are desperately wanting to hear that actually they can achieve their goals and they can live a good life. Like, you can do this, you can live a good life, you can be successful, like you can do that. Well, we're at the end of the video, and here's just a final clip. I did mess up her collarbone a little bit, but thank you for watching and have a nice day.